to manage the sub bosses in order to keep the main boss down. I guess in a way you could see this as the entirety of Bakal raid. You got the 3 dragons protecting Bakal, but not in a way where defeating a dragon would unlock the HP locks on Bakal. More so, controlling these sun and moon sub bosses would help deter Lopez, which is the main boss of the phase 2 of the raid. As for phase 3, the theme seems to be dealing with time and space, reality distortion. I really should pay attention to the lore. Maybe I'll get Mango in this and give me a refresher course. Main boss attack patterns are very unique, very aesthetic, very pleasing to the eye, but sometimes that same aesthetic makes it difficult to distinguish which zones are safe, which ones are dangerous. Some of the boss's normal attack patterns seem to revolve around the idea that if there is a colored mark that isn't green, it's best to stay away from it. Even those small gaps of purple, you really gotta avoid it if you don't want to get hurt. Speaking of boss gimmicks, I also find them to be unique and interesting. Some of them are brand new to me, and some of them seem to be a revamped version of an old gimmick I've encountered. For example, she would have these shock waves reminiscent of Hismar. Sometimes she would have these wave-like gimmicks that remind me of Karen in HOD. Phase 3's raid map reminds me of Siroko's final phase, or even Ozma's final phase raid map. The sub bosses are strong in their own right. They also have interesting gimmicks that reflect weather patterns. One of my favorite weather pattern affected gimmicks would have to be the rain gimmick. Well, one of them would require all 4 party members to huddle in one space, and there will be this bubble that would kidnap one party member at a time. And basically, you have to play beach volleyball with this bubble until all 4 party members are inside, and then you get the groggy face. Again, coordination is not as strict in my opinion, but with most raids nowadays, a lot of progression requires it to be able to deal considerable damage, especially if the groggy windows are a lot shorter now. This raid's rewards are a lot easier to obtain too. A little similar to Bakal, where the armor and the weapon fusions are obtainable through Currents of Azrahan and Currents of Mu. However, the weapon is considerably easier to obtain, which only requires you to complete the raid at least once, or it's through chance if you want to clear the guide mode instead. However, the catch is that you need to upgrade the effects and the damage of the weapon fusion, which, just like with any progression, takes a lot of resources. The requirement for these upgrades can be found in both Azrahan and Mu raid, so we're talking about the raid here. So we're also dealing with auction and card flips. Provide the latest enchantment upgrades, in addition to primeval fusion stones, the latest fusion tier in DFO. This raid also provides raid exclusive cosmetics. I think I've seen at least 3 people with the hidden aura already, and of course you also have materials for other content such as starry residue, warp dimension cubes, and archive keys. All in all, the Mu raid is wonderfully confusing. The aesthetics make the raid refreshing and sometimes be difficult to work with, both in a visual and practical sense. The fusions are easy to obtain, and the idea of upgrading it is a nice and thoughtful touch. because there's less gambling involved. It's a true grind all the way to the end. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. The weather patterns manifesting as bosses, wonderful idea. Keep it up, Neopol. Very creative of you. And that's it for my first impressions of the Curtains of Mu, God of Mist raid. I can't wait to get all my other characters into this raid. Right now, it's just been my OG Weapon Master and probably my Dark Knight, but for the most part, he's just been duking it out by himself. It's a lot of fun, even though I'm still in the process of learning it. I will, given some time, I will refresh with checking out the guides, especially the guides of our content creators. That is definitely something that I need to read up on. But in this case, especially when it comes to my first impressions of the raid, I believe it is very important for me, if I want to fully immerse myself in the enjoyment of playing this raid, to be able to get in here, do what I can, and just have fun. Thankfully, I was able to join a raid filled with patient and welcoming members, and of course, I wouldn't intentionally bring everyone down with me. I'm constantly learning about the raid. Experience-wise, I do learn best when I'm learning hands-on, and now that I've experienced a good portion of this raid, I can go back and refer to these guides, read up on them, and say, hey, I actually experienced that. Or maybe, wow, I didn't die to that one. This has been Shin KAIZEN. Thank you so much for checking out my first impressions. See you guys next time.